miles through the remote regions of Alaska. Starting in Anchorage, it climbs the Alaska Range past Mount McKinley, heads northwest across the brutally cold interior, and 600 miles in, hits the mighty Yukon. Then it pushes to the coast, across the frozen Bering Sea to Nome. But this race is more than a test of will and endurance. It's a celebration of an event that marked forever the sled dog's place in American history. February 1925. The frontier town of Nome was being ravaged by an outbreak of diphtheria. Dog teams covered almost 700 miles in a raging blizzard to deliver serum that would save thousands. The teams became national heroes and brought to fame a shaggy black lead dog named Balto. Balto was honored with a statue in New York's Central Park, where it stands even today, a tribute to the heart of the sled dog and his willingness to persevere no matter how tough things get. This spirit remains undiminished by time, driving the teams of the Iditarod today. Armed with little more than a sleeping bag, some food, and supplies for the dogs, the teams wave goodbye to the last of modern Alaska. They'll use no radios, no GPS. Navigation and safety is now up to the dogs and the skills of the musher. Even in this age of technological marvels, there are still things only dogs can do out here. To try this trip alone with a man-made vehicle would be suicidal. For as solid as modern machinery is, it's still too frail for Alaska. This is the sled dog's world, where frozen rivers and tundra are unexplored new territory. A world that calls to rugged individuals who, like their dogs, don't know the meaning of quitting. One of them is Linda Pletner.
I came here from Southern California, Palm Springs, California, to Alaska. I was working as a carpenter, and one of the guys on the job said, "You know what your problem is, Linda? You're in the wrong state." He said, "You should move to Alaska, a land where no one would say, oh, a woman can't do that. Women do everything men do up here." Easy, easy, easy. Whoa, whoa.
Out here, no one survives alone. A team and musher work almost as a pack. Their roles may change, but everyone is vital. Inevitably, though, there's one standout member on every team. Linda calls this dog her mentor, not to mention the grandfather and teacher of many in her team.
My favorite lead dog of all times, Argy. His name is Argentum. We call him Argy for short. His personality falls into a category of soft-natured, sweet, non-aggressive, casual behavior, which makes him less stressed and a higher level of performer. He'll pull me out of every single thing that goes wrong. This dog will take me through open water, overflow, cross streams, in horrible windy conditions where you can't see even the lead dog, and he'll be finding the trail and staying on it. He is just incredible. Of course, I'll try the younger dogs first because I want them to learn. He'll run in the team, and then I'll move him to the lead when the pressure is too much for the young dogs, and he'll show them how easy it really can be. Therefore, they'll all learn and become superstars like Gramps.
he feels at home. This year he's using the trail to train a group of yearling pups, and like kids at their coach's feet, they'll watch his every move.
All right. The way we turn the team is we use voice commands, and the voice command, for example, if we want to turn to the right, we use G, and if we want to turn to the left, we use HA. G! G! Now we're turning to the right, and G. Ha! Ha! And we're heading back to the left. G! This will be their first race, so it'll be kind of like taking a bunch of kids on the bus, I guess, and see what happens.
Traveling frozen rivers into the wilderness, each team knows at the end of the first day that there's no looking back. The mushers are on their dog schedules now, and Alaska's days and nights will become one. The real adventure is on. "115 miles into the race, they'll stop at Yentna, one of the 27 official checkpoints along the trail. The mushers follow a specific checkpoint routine. Weeks ago, they sent supplies ahead to each official stop, so now they can take care of their dogs, rest, and let the Iditarod vets do their jobs. The Iditarod has been criticized by certain animal rights groups that feel the race is too hard on the dogs, and the race has responded. A team of 35 volunteer veterinarians make up the official vet corps of the race. At every checkpoint, each dog is given a thorough examination.
Short of an in-house veterinary exam, this is probably the most complete physical we ever do on a dog.
What is it about the Alaskan Huskies that inspires these vets and the mushers themselves to devote so much to them? Part Siberian, part Malamute, part hound, and part mutt, they're surprisingly small, averaging about 45 pounds. They're not recognized as a distinct breed by kennel clubs, but they're bred with meticulous care from champion lines for strength and drive. They have a keen sense of adventure, an extraordinary willingness to push themselves farther and faster. They come in every shape, size, and color. Good-natured junkyard dogs with a spirit as big as Alaska. A few teams might stay longer here in Yentna, but most choose to travel in the night. Huskies run best when the temperature is just below zero. Knowing when to run and when to rest is the key to dog mushing. Some mushers don't quite fit the bill of someone you'd expect to see out here, like a former presidential chef who thrives on gourmet sauces, tending his garden, and playing a classical guitar. But Jerome Longo would give up anything for his sled dogs.
Follow. Come here then. These guys, they love me and I love them, so we know when we're heading out on the Iditarod, it's an adventure that we're both sharing. It's an equal partnership. It's a well-rounded animal, not just a working animal. It's a pet. It's a companion. It's a protector. It's my ears and my eyes around my home. It's everything that you would, a slipper fetcher, a newspaper fetcher. That's the dog that I have. That's the dog that I run in my teams. It's the dogs I breed. That's the dogs I train. And I don't know if they'll ever win the Iditarod, but we have a fun time getting to know them most of the time. left Maine. You know, I left a good job. I left my family, my friends. I left everything I knew to pursue a relationship with these dogs. The best place I found that I could do that was here in Alaska. This is where I want to be. This is where I think the dogs should be. This is where their spirit is. This is where their heritage is. This is where they come from. It's deep inside me. It's deep inside the dogs. And together, we run out there.
Day 2, over 180 miles into the race. It's shaping up to be a tough trip. Already, 2 teams have been forced to drop out, and the others hit the first real obstacle today, the Alaska Range. The trail through these mountains is a notorious mind game. The Happy River Valley plunges hundreds of feet in a cruel series of steep descents. Here, it's impossible to control a sled that can weigh up to 200 pounds. A musher will fight just to keep it upright and from running over the dogs. Last year, nearly a quarter of the teams crashed in this stretch alone. Lose your team out here, and you're stranded with nothing. The cardinal rule of dog mushing is never, ever let go. Alaska seems to know just when to let up. For every test, there's a reward. The trail through Rainy Pass is the Alaska of our dreams. In a land that offers every extreme, this is a moment of perfection. With a glorious run through the mountains behind them, Linda Pletner and RG can rest. But the magic of a perfect day still lingers in the cold night air. Tonight, the Alaskan sky bestows something special on all who travel the trail, the shimmering splendor of the northern lights. Day 3, 272 miles into the race. Talk in Roan Checkpoint is that it dipped to 45 below last night. This will prove to be one of the coldest Iditarods on record. But the normal checkpoint routine continues.
This particular concoction is beef liver, chicken skins, corn oil. I want to get a substantial meal into them here because when I came in, I think it was 38 below without the wind chill.
The vets know the cruel side of cold.
So did you have a good run over?
Yeah, it was great.
Good. Dogs are looking great.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good. I don't really see anything wrong with anybody.
Good.
They're eating like little horses.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they've got good weight, well hydrated.
They ate 5 snacks on the way across.
No problems with frostbite?
No frostbite.
Good.
I actually didn't know it was 30 below till I got here.
Yeah, 35 below.
Well, I know it was cold.
And cold has an insidious way of creeping in and taking over.
Gee, good dog. Ha, ha.
Making their way through the Alaskan interior, the teams run the trails of the native people. And as if they sense their own heritage out here, the dogs push hard to see what's around each bend. When the trail gets rough, lead dogs shine. They possess the uncanny ability to know what the musher and team need. And for Linda, RG steps up.
He accepts a tremendous amount of responsibility. And that's really what a leader is, a dog that accepts responsibility. He hardly ever pulls, but it doesn't really matter. He knows where we're going, he knows where I want to go, and he does it effortlessly.
A lead dog like RG has qualities that can't be taught. They're just in him. And to a musher, he's a gift.
They're far and few between, these particular dogs.
Dogs are dropped for all kinds of reasons. Anything from injury to not enjoying the trip. From picking fights to not eating well. Although the mushers receive no outside support during the race, there's always support for the dogs. Dropped dogs stay with the vets until they're flown to Anchorage by the Iditarod's volunteer pilots. At this point, Linda has dropped 1 dog, Sonny 2. 6 teams have scratched and flown home. Crossing rivers that snake through the tundra, the teams travel another 100 miles to reach the official halfway mark, the town that gave the race its name. But no crowds greet them in the empty streets of Iditarod, only ghostly echoes of Alaska's past. Born of the gold rush, Iditarod was once a bustling town of 10,000. Bankers, carpenters, fancy ladies, and dance hall girls. Ordinary people with extraordinary dreams could make a fortune with one lucky strike. Dreams of gold burned bright. But the gold, as it always does, ran out. The fortune hunters abandoned Iditarod, leaving Alaska to take back what was hers all along. Like ghosts of a century ago, the teams passed through Iditarod, driving northwest for the Yukon and the second half of their trip. "70 miles up the trail, Linda Pletner's in trouble.
The puppies are losing weight. That bothers me, you know. Last year I did this with a young team and they stayed fat the whole way, but this group, I think maybe they got a little too fast of a start in the race altogether, and then a couple of cold nights. I ran them at night and it was cold. That zapped some of their reserves, and now I'm fighting desperately to get some weight back on them, otherwise I'm going to take them home. There's more going on than just a little loss of weight, you know. They have an attitude problem. They're eating, but they're not wagging their tails, and they're not playing with me, and they're not playing with each other, and they just look a little down in the dumps. You know, I'd go home from here if there was an airport. I've never gone home from a race. I finished them all.
Other teams will push on.
Y'all gonna get bored.
And the conditions that can break a team down aren't affecting everyone. Veterinarian Sonny King and his team still have the energy to argue over little things.
You know by the... And look at you, you took your booties off again. I'm gonna put them back on. You can't run barefooted. Oh.
For 600 miles, there's been the same discussion at every single stop.
I'm gonna put them back on, you know that. You hate them. Just like an old country boy that doesn't want to have his shoes on. Just doesn't want to have them on. Hey, give me that foot. Give me that foot. Look at him pouting. Just gonna pout. Come on, guys. Next stop, Anvik. How much time?
From here, the teams embark on the most famous stretch of the Iditarod Trail. The cornerstone of many of Jack London's tales of the Alaskan bush is known as the River of Gold, the Yukon. Even its name is synonymous with adventure and wilderness. Winding 2,000 miles through Alaska into Canada, the Yukon is still the only highway into these parts. For many, it's a lifeline. Over the next 3 days, the teams follow it northward through the territory of the Athabaskan Indian.
It's a still very wild area to me. It's the things you've read about since you were a little kid. You know, you read about the Yukon, you read about the Alaskan, far distant north, and all of a sudden you get to be part of it. You're out there with a dog team, you know, y'all, all your best buddies, and you know, it's just you and your dog team, and you're going across Alaska, and you're going up the mighty Yukon. You know, things you've always heard about. And there you are, you know, with just a dream.
You definitely get a feeling of being just a little tiny part of a whole huge thing. I mean, feel like an ant out there.
Coming off the Yukon, the teams run headlong into high winds and every musher's nightmare: overflow. It happens when a river expands over its cover of ice and then refreezes. The new ice looks solid, but in an instant, teams can fall inches, even feet deep into icy water. Going in means a musher must dry off immediately or freeze to death in minutes. Yet one musher and his dogs are just fine. Somehow, even in the dark of night, they've managed to avoid the overflow. Others on the trail admire the uncanny ease with which he moves through the wilderness. But Sonny Linder's sole focus remains his team of puppies.
Well, we just made the run up the Yukon for 140, 150 miles, and had a headwind and a few snowstorms go downriver during that time. Slowed us way down, so you're giving the dogs a lot of commands, looking for the trail, and running right into that wind, and it really takes a toll on them. Even some of the experienced dogs have been having a lot of trouble there, teams that have done it many times, and these young ones, boy, I'm not sure that's a lesson I'm out here trying to teach them. I want them to kind of have fun.
Throughout the day, Sonny has helped others struggling on the trail.
There were a lot of teams lost out there for quite a while. That's probably not the thing you think about when you want to do this, that you're going to be lost in a storm. You're thinking more like the times, like the other night when the northern lights were out real bright. It was pretty cold, but it was a real nice sky, and we were cruising along in some open country where you could look up, and those are the times I think you want to focus on.
But Sonny is long gone by the time Jerome Longo arrives.
You know, every second of the day you're just thinking scratch. You know, bed, home, you know, music, food, the whole works. But then again, there's a lot of people who, you know, in one hand want to see you scratch. Scratch, and I never ever not finished a race. So I don't want to scratch. The dogs would like to scratch, I think. They've all done it before. That's the whole deal. We've all gone through hell before together. I mean, obviously I'm going through just as much as they are.
Up ahead, there's a turning point in the race, the Bering Sea. The first town on the coast is Unalakleet, a fishing village perched on a narrow spit of land jutting into the sea. This is the time of year the town looks forward to. The long nights of the cold Alaskan winter are turning to longer, brighter days. Soon spring will bring back open water and green tundra, and the Iditarod is a welcome part of the changing season. For the mushers, Unalakleet is a milestone. 890 miles in, they've made it out of the interior. 700 people call this their home. Many of them are Inupiat Eskimo. The people here know what the teams have endured, and their support lends the mushers strength.
It's nice to see all the people get together and meet the dog mushers. See all kinds of faces that hardly comes out.
The dogs they're in great shape, you know, see what kind of condition they're in. And it shows that, too, that what our elders had to do, too, some of the teams that had, you know, dog teams and how they got about traveling.
I still love dogs. I still have dog at home. His name is Honey. I don't call my husband Honey, but my dog name is Honey.
Exhausted, Jerome Longo has trusted the last 30 miles to his team. Some of his dogs have been here before. Their extraordinary memories have brought them to the checkpoint they've known from years past. All have pushed hard, seeming to know the nearby town means warmth and a long rest. Some 200 miles ahead, the winners are crossing the finish line. But for Jerome, the coast is a victory. It means the safety of Unalakleet and the open arms of the Inupiat. More mushers will find their way to the coast in the darkness, knowing that if they have made it this far, they can make it to Nome. Tonight, as the villagers celebrate each musher's arrival, Unalakleet belongs to the Iditarod. Daybreak, a clear sky and fine weather. Something in Unalakleet just feels different.
Oh yeah, I'm rejuvenated. I've been sleeping, eating, sleeping, eating, sleeping, eating. That'll do it. The dogs have basically been doing the same thing. A lot of sleeping, a lot of eating. They got their blankies on. They're in really deep straw. They've been getting some of that good REM sleep, you know. Makes you feel like a champ. I'm gonna make it to Nome. I've never entered a race I didn't finish. That sort of got me thinking, ooh, do I want to start doing the not finish now?
But things got far worse before they got better, with headwinds, overflow, and 250 miles of trail. That's when one team member can make the difference between quitting and going on.
Argy did everything. You know, Argy brings the team through. They look to him for their security. I look to him for my security. Coming in here when it got icy, I just stopped the team. I put Argy up in the front. I said, okay, old man, take me into the checkpoint. I could look over at Argy and he'd give me those warm, sweet, happy eyes of, come on, let's get it together, Mom. You know, that look he always gives me is friendly and warming. The several times I thought I should send this poor old dog home, he's done enough, this is far enough, I think, I can't go to Nome without this dog. This is the highlight of his life. He's going to be a 10-year-old dog crossing the finish line in Nome for his 6th time. And this is probably his last major race. He'll probably be around the kennel. Oh, I've got him to live to be 17, so he's probably going to live for another 7 years. But this is realistically it for him, you know? I can't believe I'm so emotional about this dog.
After a long break in Unalakleet, the teams continue along the coastline to Shaktoolik, where the trail turns northward and out onto the open Bering Sea. Away from the protection of the cliffs, the teams enter a no man's land, where the horizon disappears into 58 miles of open sea ice. Some mushers make this leg at night, finding it less stressful than facing hours upon hours of white, featureless seascape. But still they must contend with the constant Arctic winds and the ice groaning and cracking beneath them. With only 65 miles to Nome, the teams face a final unpredictable obstacle, a raging ground blizzard. Winds gusting up to 70 miles per hour will swirl loose snow into a blinding whiteout. Now the dogs take over. For what sled dogs do is well beyond any human's ability. Instinct, strength, endurance, and unwavering courage drive the dogs on. At last, a curve in the land takes them beyond the winds to Nome, 1,100 miles from where they started 12 days ago. As strong and steady as ever, Sonny Linder's team comes off the sea ice to Front Street for the very last mile. Having faced the best and worst of Alaska, his pups arrive, more focused and confident than ever in their lives. These young ones are seasoned sled dogs now. They'll go on to lead or run with other teams in the future. For this team, Sonny's job is done. One by one, as the teams cross the finish line, it's a celebration of the wilderness and a celebration of coming home. Several hours after Sonny's finish, Jerome Longo's team comes in strong, a tribute to the sled dogs he calls his pets.
Going down Front Street is the most exhilarating accomplishment of any personal achievement that I'll ever have in my life. And at the same time, it'll be the end. And that's pretty sad.
For the next few days, the rest of the mushers will make their way into Nome. But for many, the finish is bittersweet. They must leave behind an Alaska few will ever know, an experience achieved by courage and trust in a place only sled dogs can take them.
There's nothing you can put up in front of them that will discourage them from going on. You know, you're their pack leader, you're their best friend. They pull you through, you pull them through.
Linda Pletner and her team have made it to Nome with Argy in the lead, always the unconditional friend. In Argy courses the spirit of sled dogs over the centuries. For this was never a race for him. It was a trip through Alaska's wilds with his team and the person he cares for most in the world. For this, he gives his all.
And Archie, you were so good. You were so good. You were so good. It's the bestest time you ever had. Yes, you are. You were so good. Yes, you were. He was awesome. He did everything. He ran in the worst of storms. He was just too cool. You want to come pet him? Is that what you want? You want to pet the puppy? Go ahead, pet him. He likes kids. He thinks kids are cool. Yippers. Kids are his favorite.
What's his name?
His name is Argy. That's okay, I got more. Yeah, he's the lead doggy, all right. Argy. This dog just ran 1,000 miles.